Oh, sorry, the microphone wasn't on. Sorry about that. Where would you like me to start this time? Just confirming audio and visuals, buffering, any issues? Right, should I just start where I left off, or should I start from the beginning again? I'll probably do a... Even if I do this, I'm probably going to do a re-recording to start for archive memories for people to look at, but I just wanted to hear what you guys wanted to do before I proceed. Oh, you weren't here for the beginning. Okay, then sorry, but for your benefit, I will start from the beginning. I know, yeah, I guess a recap can work. Alright, I'll just give a quick, oh no, I'll start from the beginning, yeah. Sorry, people, but if I have a clean stream now, I'm thinking to do it. I'm so sorry about this. Hopefully this is the last time, I swear. Alright. Alright, let's begin. I'll do an introduction like next time since this is a clean stream. Alright, here we go. Take 3. Yes, after an hour and a half we begin. When he first woke up, Soichi felt like he'd been dreaming. Perhaps waking up in an unfamiliar place had strengthened that impression, but he actually did feel like he'd been having some kind of dream. Otherwise, there wouldn't be tears in her eyes. Oh, was a buzzing in the background for my mic? 1 second, let me try something. Alright, let's try again. How's the mic sound now? Any better? It could just be the, my fan. I have my fan running. That might be it, but... Alright, I'll just continue right now. If he weren't, there wouldn't be tears in his eyes. Soichi wiped his cheeks and sat up. Where is this? Soichi had no idea what was going on. A scene unlike anything he woke up to every morning was right before him. It was a room made of modern concrete. There was a carpet on the floor, and there was fancy-looking Western furniture strewn about. But the whole room was dirty and covered in dust. Much like the furniture, the bed Soichi had been sleeping on was dirty and had springs jutting out of it. The fact that the furniture looked so fancy to begin with just made the oddity stand out even more. A VIP sick room from an abandoned hospital. That was Soichi's first impression. What's going on here? Throb. Soichi tried to remember, but the core of his head throbbed dully. As a minor, he'd never been drunk before, but this is what he imagined a hangover felt like. His head felt hazy, but it gradually began to clear up. And so his memories became clear with that. I finished up club yesterday. As usual, he'd gone to school and gone to club after school. And then... But Soichi's memory is cut off there. What happened after that? He'd said goodbye to his friends, and he'd gone home alone. But that was it. That was all he could remember. Next thing he remembered was waking up in his bed, looking up at an unfamiliar ceiling. It was an odd sensation, like his memories had been edited like a film. Even if he had just been having a dream, the sense of discomfort still felt strong. Did something happen? An accident? That was the first thing that popped into Soichi's head. That word had horrible connotations to him, so it was the first thing that jumped to mind. But this wasn't a hospital room, no matter how you looked at it. Maybe it could have passed with one with the furniture alone, but this dirty? No way. What's more, he didn't appear to be hurt anywhere, and he was still wearing the school uniform that he'd been wearing on his way home. Is this a kidnapping or something? A place he didn't remember. If he didn't remember coming here himself, then he would have had no reason to be here. Which meant someone must have brought here when he was unconscious, but apart from a medical emergency, that act would generally be known as a kidnapping. But kidnapped? Me? Soichi had no memory of being kidnapped. He'd been born and raised into a normal family, and they weren't particularly wealthy. There should have been no benefit in ransoming him. He also hadn't gone into any sort of trouble that would have caused a kidnapping. What the heck's going on here? Soichi shook his lightly throbbing head, and then he noticed it. What's that? There was an odd sensation when he shook his head. Click, click. Soichi reached out his fingers and felt a cold, smooth, hard, metallic sensation. Soichi put both of his hands around his neck this time. When he did, he realized there was some sort of metallic ring surrounding it. A collar? It was about 1 or 2 centimeters in diameter and was tube-shaped. Or rather, sorry. It was 1 or 2 centimeters in diameter, and you could easily imagine it was tube-shaped. The whole thing was practically glued to his neck. Thanks to that, he couldn't slip his fingers in it anywhere. There was also almost no grooves in the front or on the front side for him to sink them into either. A kidnapping and a collar. Those two words brought to mind a recent incident involving a deviant who'd kidnapped and confined people. The captives had collars placed around their necks and put under surveillance, and then the criminal had forced them to treat him as their master. Nah, that couldn't be. Soichi gulped audibly. It wasn't out of the question. He'd already been brought into an abandoned room. Just then, he heard a beep. Whoa, what was that? Soichi looked around surprised. And then he noticed something flashing on a wooden table next to the bed. That was where the beeping was coming from. The beeping wasn't all that loud. It was like a cell phone's ringtone. Oh, my stuff's there too. Soichi's school sports bag was lying right past the flashing object on the table. He felt a bit of comfort seeing something familiar, and then headed over to the table. What's this? There was a PDA on the table. But there weren't any kind of markings that would indicate the manufacturer. All there was a playing card on the display. The Ace of Spades. Soichi grabbed the PDA to find that it was lighter than it looked. It was a 10x6 PDA, and it was extremely thin to accentuate the playing card motif. The screen was practically buried into the PDA, and there were several buttons under it. There was a white line grid pattern on the back of it, as if to further accentuate the playing card motif. Whoever made this had put a lot of effort into making it look like a playing card. So what struck out as other was the two connectors on the side and bottom of the PDA, where the player can see profile hints, character profiles or hints or something of the sort. Not really, no. Unless you're meaning something particular. Anyway, I'll continue for now. The connectors were clearly heavier than the PDA itself, and Soichi thought they completely tore apart the whole playing card theme it had going for it. Soichi pressed a button at the bottom of the PDA, turning on the backlight on the screen. And a moment later, something new appeared on the screen. Rules, functions, release condition. What's this release condition thing? Soichi tapped the screen. It reacted. It appeared it was a touch screen. Condition to remove your collar. Remove your collar? A. The owner of the Queen PDA, and it cuts off there. Just then, Soichi heard a sound behind him. Soichi tensed up without looking at the rest of the PDA. Soichi couldn't hide his tension from the sudden sound he heard behind him. Someone's here. Soichi knew someone else other than him had to be in this building, but being faced with it now filled him with fear. At the very least, the person who knocked out Soichi and brought him here had to be around. Soichi put the PDA in his pocket and tiptoed carefully over towards the door. If they were the kidnapper, they knew Soichi was here, so hiding would be no use. They stood in front of the door, and the doorknob clattered. They're here. They're right there. The person outside probably grabbed the doorknob. They would soon turn the doorknob and enter the room. Not before I can. Soichi swung open the door before the person outside could open it. A dream. This is the continuation of a dream. That was what Soichi thought when he saw the girl looking up at him with blank amazement and upturned eyes. This couldn't possibly be happening. Soichi's conviction to fight back against the criminal and his tension and fear faded away like mist in an instant. Soichi didn't think the girl herself was real. Hey, you. Soichi reached out for her like always, but then the girl's face scrunched up in fear. Then she stepped away from Soichi. Huh? Why is she making that face at me? Were you the one who brought me here? When he understood that the look on her face was fear, Soichi finally realized that the girl in front of him was a completely different person from the person he knew. The two of them eyed each other warily. I woke up here, have no idea what was happening, and then so I... Sorry, one second. Soichi, who was calm because in contrast to Soichi, who was calm because The girl in front of him looked so similar to someone he knew. The girl in front of him was cautiously speaking and saying whatever came to mind, but then Soichi caught a glimpse of the silver collar around her neck. That's... Soichi reached out for it. The girl at first reacted in fear. That's a collar. Soichi then spoke up to explain what he'd been trying to do, and pointed at his own collar. The girl touched her own collar, and Soichi looked at her neck. No, and looked at Soichi's neck, sorry. Her eyes fixated on the silver ring. Is this the same as yours, I wonder? I wonder about that. The two of them couldn't look directly at their own. So this was the first time they'd ever seen another collar. Its luster was metallic just as Soichi had imagined. It was tube-shaped, and it was stuck so firmly to the neck that you couldn't put your fingers in it. He didn't know why it was there, but this was too elaborate for a simple kidnapping. Oh yeah, that's true. While we're at it, I'll show you the PDA thing. I'll cover those... the story will cover it more as we go along, but the PDA does have information there, but since they go over it in the story itself, I'll just wait until then to... Anyway, I'll skip back to the game now. Sorry about that. The collar looked more like a fashion statement to him. Then did you wake up here? Did you also wake up here with that collar on your neck? Yes. The girl nodded frantically. Once he saw her acting like that, Soichi began to believe it was a mistake to doubt the girl. Was it the same for you too? Yes, I just woke up here. With this collar and I found this collar in a weird device. Soichi took out his PDA and showed it to the girl. And the girl began fishing through her own pocket. I have one of those too. But I don't really know how to use it. I'm not good with stuff like this. The girl frowned slightly as she said that. Maybe that means we're in the same boat. Sorry for doubting you. Guess I'm more of a coward than I thought. Collar, the PDA, and her frightened state. That was enough for Soichi to determine that this girl was not in league with the kidnappers. That wasn't all there actually was to it, but at that time Soichi wasn't aware of that. No, I'm the one who's sorry for freaking out like that. The girl bowed her head. The natural way she did that, and her choice of words, made Soichi feel that she'd had a good upbringing. They may have looked the same, but she was someone else entirely different.
どうかなさいましたか？
Is something the matter? The girl looked puzzled at the unintentional smiles that came out of Soichi's mouth. No, I'm sorry. Just when I saw you greet me like that, I thought maybe my own parents had raised me wrong or something. The girl gave a faint smile. Oh yeah, we haven't done it yet, have we? Soichi smiled when the girl laughed. Huh? My name's Soichi. Soichi Mitsurugi. We haven't told our names yet, right? But as you can see from my uniform, I'm a student. Soichi held his right hand out to the girl.
姫萩さくみです。私もまだ学生の身分です。
I'm Sakumi Himehagi. I'm also a student. The girl continued smiling as she took Soichi's hand. Her face wasn't frozen like it was at the beginning. Pleasure to meet you, Sakumi.
はい。はじめまして、みつるぎさん。
Yes. The pleasure's all mine, Mitsurugi. And so the two shook hands and finally learned each other's names. It's no good. My phone's out of range as well. Yeah, figures. I figured it would have been weird to just talk out in front of the door the whole time. So Soichi and Sakumi had returned to the room with the table and chair. The two of them checked their own belongings. Naturally, the first things they checked were their cell phones. At this point, practically everyone their age had one of them. They still had them even after they'd been taken here. But that was the only stroke of good luck they had. Their phones were completely out of service. They couldn't make any calls. Perhaps that was why their kidnappers hadn't taken their phones. I guess this is about the only other thing that looks usable here. Soichi took out two covered ping pong rackets and a case full of ping pong balls from his sports bag. Ping pong? Yep. Table's about the right length for a game, wouldn't you say? Soichi swung the racket, and the girl put her hands on her cheeks and laughed. What, I don't look the type? It was a bit unexpected. Sakumi wiped her eyes as she smiled. I'm sorry, Mitsurugi. It's just that I had a completely different impression of you when we first met. So I guess I got in my head that you were the scary guy. Sakumi continued smiling as she apologized. Man, that's harsh. Anyway, jokes aside, what are we gonna do now? Sakumi's smile faded and her face grew serious. For For the time being, the only clues we have are these collars and these strange game consoles. Sakumi took out her PDA and pointed at her collar. Soichi couldn't see her PDA screen, but it appeared to be the same as his. I wonder if they're the same. Huh? I'm talking about this game console. No, I mean this PDA. Anyway. Sorry, one second. Anyway, these PDAs are the same, so I just figured that our collars were the same too. Oh, maybe you're right. Sakumi nodded as she touched her own collar again. It was tight around her neck so she couldn't see it herself. In the end, they couldn't get it off. Soichi tried tugging as hard as he could on his own, but it wouldn't budge an inch. Since he couldn't get his fingers under it, he naturally couldn't put any strength into it. With how tight it was around his neck, he'd be more likely to break his neck than get the collar off at this point. When Sakumi had pointed that out, Soichi had reluctantly given up on taking off his collar. Hey, Sakumi, would you show me your collar for a bit? Soichi stared right at Sakumi's neck. Sakumi nodded. At that moment, her chin briefly hit her neck. Yes, I don't mind. Just please show me yours after, okay? Yeah, sure thing. I'll do it. Soichi nodded back and stood up from the chair. Sakumi also tried to stand up and follow suit. Huh? Suddenly, she stumbled and fell towards Soichi. Sakumi! Soichi caught Sakumi before she could fall. Are you okay? I'm fine. I'm sorry, Mitsurugi. Sakumi looked up from Soichi's arms. Did you get dizzy? From what you could see, Sakumi didn't look all that pale. He breathed a sigh of relief. Yeah, it seems that way. My head's been kind of hazy for a while now. Sakumi put her hands to her cheeks as she frowned. Now you mention it, my head's been feeling pretty heavy too. Soichi tilted his head in puzzlement. They had no way of knowing this, but the reason their heads felt so heavy was because of the drug that had been used to render them unconscious before they'd been taken here. It had been a simple anesthetic drug, so now they're waking up, its effects were wearing off. But right now, there were still some lingering side effects. Maybe I just got up wrong. I have pretty low blood pressure. I see. Now I think about it, the air here is pretty bad, so I guess that makes sense. Sorry, one second. Soichi nodded back as he tried to help Sakumi up to her feet. Thanks for the help, Mitsurugi. Sakumi smiled at Soichi. You surprised me, but I'm glad you're okay. Just then, Sakumi realized that her apprehension towards this boy had been fading away. She was confused why for a moment, but she quickly realized the answer. It was his eyes. It was the strange warmth she could feel from his eyes. When she looked into them, she felt she could trust this guy. Even though she didn't trust others all that much. Up till now, Sakumi hadn't exactly lived what could be called a very happy life. So she didn't trust people all that easy. But for some reason, she didn't feel uneasy at all with the boy in front of her. Even though it should be just like any other guy out there. Sakumi? Sakumi finally realized she'd been staring at Soichi. I'm sorry. Sakumi then frantically moved away from Soichi, her face red. Is something wrong? Nothing at all. Sakumi frantically looked away. She'd been acting weird for a while now. Sakumi herself found it strange. Just what kind of person is this guy? Sakumi glanced at Soichi out of the corner of her eye as she kept her head turned away. How's it look? Judging from what I felt, it really is the same. It really does appear to be the same. Sakumi lifted her chin as Soichi examined her neck. He ran his fingers along her collar as he touched his own collar with his left hand. They felt exactly the same. The sensation of cool metal passed through his fingertips. It seemed there was a bit of difference in size because of the difference of the thickness of their necks, but so I guess we really do have the same ones. Soichi gave the collar in front of him a good hard stare. It gave off a dull silver light as it stood firmly around Sakumi's slender neck. He couldn't tell what kind of metal it was from the appearance alone, but... Huh? What's this? Soichi noticed a small bump on the front of the collar. He hadn't noticed it when he'd been feeling his own. Soichi ran his fingers across it and brought his face closer to look at it. A hole and a metal terminal in the center. Is this some kind of connector? It looked like you could put something in that connector. Soichi felt like he'd seen something that he could put in that connector, but he couldn't remember what it was. Sakumi sighed at that moment. Soichi looked up at her. Sakumi? Soichi noticed that her face was flushed and that her breathing was a little wild. When Sakumi realized that Soichi was staring at her, her eyes quickly turned away. I'm sorry. When I thought of how a boy was staring so close to my neck, I got embarrassed all of a sudden. Oh. It then finally hit Soichi that he'd been feeling around a girl his own age's neck and had been staring daggers into her. I'm sorry, Sakami. That was insensitive of me. She also told me that I need to be more careful. Soichi frantically took his hands off of Sakami.
いえ、その別に下心があったりとかそういうわけではないのだし、あまり気にしないでください。
No, I know you didn't have any sort of ulterior motives or anything like that, so don't worry about it too much, please. Soichi and Sakami awkwardly look away, both of them feeling a twinge of embarrassment. What do I do? Soichi cursed his own insensitivity. He tried to think of something, anything that changed the conversation, but nothing came to mind. Oh, right. Soichi finally came up with something. Would you like to take a look at my collar too?
はい、お願いします。
Oh, yes, please. Okay then. Soichi sat down in the chair next to him. He then lifted his head. Sakami then carefully approached him. She then squatted down and brought her face close to his neck. I see now. Yeah, this is pretty embarrassing. Sakami's fingers occasionally grazed his neck as she checked out this collar. And Sakami's breaths occasionally brushed against his neck, on the nape of his neck. Soichi couldn't stop his face from turning red. In the end, I guess this is the most suspicious thing here. Soichi said that as he looked at his own PDA.
こんなゲーム機手がかりになるんですか？
Do you think there's any kind of clues in this game console? After she finished looking at his collar, after they finished looking at each other's collars, Soichi and Sakami turned to their PDAs next. But since Sakami wasn't all that familiar with latest technology, she still thought the PDA was a game console. Well, game console or not aside, when I looked at it before, I thought I saw something written on it. I don't think there'd be any harm in checking it out. Soichi pressed the button on his PDA. When he did, the PDA's screen changed like it did before. When he did, he found some sort of time counter and 3 different options on the screen. Time since start of game, 1 hour and 30 minutes. Time remaining, 71 hours and 30 minutes. Rules, functions, release condition. Yep, just about as I figured.
どうやるんですか？
What do you mean? Sakami held her PDA and asked Soichi. Press this button. Soichi shows PDA to Sakami as he pressed the button.
押すと
So I just pressed this. Sakami carefully pressed the button, and a beep came from her PDA.
本当です。
Oh,
何か別の表示になりました。
oh, you're right. The screen changed. Sakami showed her PDA as Soichi with a smile. Yep, that's right. It's the same screen as mine. Soichi showed the screen to Sakami again. Their PDAs both had the same
次
screen.
はどうするんですか？
What do we do next? Right. Well, next, you touch this part of the screen. You saw those letters popped up right? Those words popped up right now? If you touch them, you'll get into another screen. Huh? Sakami nodded, impressed, and carefully did the same to her own screen. But before she did, she turned to Soichi again.
出てますけど。
3 things came up. Look at them from the top up.
はい、わかりました。
Check them out from the top up, if you please. Then Sakumi touched her screen. When Soichi touched the word that said rules, smaller words than before appeared on the screen. Whoa, what's this? Soichi was surprised when he read the words there. It read as thus. 1. Alright, 1 second. The participants have special collars attached to them. These can be removed by fulfilling the conditions written on your PDA and by plugging the collar connector into the PDA and having it read. If you have your PDA read when your condition has not been fulfilled, the collar will activate. An alarm will... 15 seconds after your alarm has ring, the building's security systems will activate and kill you. There is no way to deactivate an activated collar. 2. Each of the participants have 4 of the rules between 1 to 9. All of them have rules 1 and 2, while each of them have been randomly assigned one between 3 and 9. By gathering 5 to 6 participants together, you should be able to find all the rules. 5. There are forbidden areas. Hold on a second, sorry. At first, only the outside of the building is a forbidden area. When you enter a forbidden area, your collar will sound an alarm. If you ignore the alarm, the building's security systems will activate and kill you. Also, starting from the second day on, every floor from the first onwards will gradually become a forbidden area, and eventually the whole building will be a forbidden area. 8. All areas for the first 6 hours are designated as non-combat zones. Should you any defying of this rule will result in the activation of the collar. Self-defense is an exception.
なんだか変なことがいっぱい書いてありますね。
There's a lot of weird stuff written here, isn't there? Sakumi looked at Soichi confused when she finished reading her PDA. It appeared she was confused by what she'd read. Hey, Sakumi. Soichi began talking with a serious face. He chose his words carefully. Yes? I think we might have been caught up in some sort of promotion for a movie or a manga.
プロモーション
A promotion? Confused, Sakumi just repeated his words. Soichi knit his eyebrows as he ran his fingers over the sentences on the PDA. There's lots of all these violent words in here, like kill and get killed, right? Yes? Japan is peaceful these days. Do you think that anyone would seriously write this stuff? Sakumi's face brightened up when she finally realized what Soichi was getting at.
そうですよね。映画や漫画なんかではこんなのよく見かけますよね。
That's right, you normally see this kind of stuff a lot in movies or manga, right? Sakumi looked back at her PDA with a smile. I know, right?
はい。
Yes. Soichi and Sakumi smiled at each other. At first, they'd been worried they'd been gone some sort of kidnapping. But for good or for ill, once they read the words on their PDA, their attention completely faded. The reason why was because of what had been written. these special collars would kill them if they broke the rules. They would be killed if a certain time passed. They needed to fulfill a condition or to take them off. It sounded like something straight out of a manga or a movie. They couldn't take it seriously at all. It lacked any sense of reality. If it had just been a simple kidnapping, they would have taken it more seriously, but this was just too ridiculous. It was more likely they'd been caught in some sort of strange promo for a manga by sheer coincidence rather than something like this actually happening in modern-day Japan. Those thoughts were led by the comment. Sorry, 1 second. Another leading factor for that line of thought was the bad habit of modern people to believe that they would never get caught up in any sort of accidents or incidents and that they'd be fine. I'm sure it must be something really big if they went all this way to make sorry. Let me try that again. It must be something really big if they prepared all these things and went out of their way to make these sets, these authentic sets. Well, someone's got too much money on their hands. Soichi stared at his PDA. The PDA modeled after a playing card. He'd been viewing it with suspicion and caution. Someone had really gone out of their way to create this sort of tie-in to whatever manga or movie promo they've been brought into. No matter how I looked at it, it must have cost quite a lot of money to make these PDAs. Hold on 1 second, I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back. This will probably be a commercial for some 5 billion yen blockbuster or something. Oh yes, maybe you're right. But right as Soichi and Sakumi exchange smiles again, someone save me! They are interrupted by the hoarse scream of a man, followed by a loud noise. Alright, I'm just gonna make a save here. I think I'll just keep going a little longer, unless, do you think I should stop here? I'll just take your thoughts. Alright, I'll keep going then. 1 second. Okay. Ready. And here we go. What was that noise? I don't know. But I heard someone asking for help, so why don't we go check it out? It would be bad if some sort of accidents happen, huh? Sakumi immediately agreed to Soichi's proposal. But Soichi shook his head. If you ask me, I think it's some sort of event related to the promo campaign. Soichi smiled as he got to his feet and he held his hand out to Sakumi.
そうですね。私もそんな気がします。
Yes, I think the same. Sakumi nodded with a smile and took Soichi's hand and helped him up. Once they went out to the hallway, Soichi realized he wasn't so far off the mark when he compared this place to an abandoned building. Cobwebs covered the concrete walls. Practically every last inch of the building was layered in dust far thicker than his rooms. However, there were some clear footprints engraved in the dust, indicating that people passed by not too long ago. Where do you think that noise came from? Right. Soichi turned to Sakumi. Since she'd been walking through this very hall a few minutes ago, he figured she at least had a better grasp on the layout than him.
左の方は行き止まりです。私はそっちから来ましたから。
The left side is a dead end. That's the way I came from. Sakumi answered as she gestured to the left. Soichi followed her finger to see that the hallway continued straight that way for a little until it curved left. A lone door sat on the right side of the hall. I see. Sakumi nodded at Soichi and continued.
はい。向こうには私の寝かされていた部屋以外にも2つ部屋があったんですけど、どちらも空っぽでした。
Yes, there were 2 more rooms apart from the one I woke up in over that way, but both of them were empty. Now I get it. So I was in the 3rd room, huh? That meant there were still two more doors down that way.
そうなります。
Right. Okay. Then let's head right. A sudden sound interrupted Soichi. Surprised, but hold on a second. Okay, sorry. Sakumi ducked on reflex, startled by the sound louder than the one she'd heard in the room. The sound was coming from the right. They had to go to the right anyway, so it was actually beneficial to them. Let's go, Sakumi. Sakumi silently nodded. Soichi thought her face looked a little nervous. It's okay, Sakumi. This is all part of the event anyway.
でもさっきは悲鳴がしていましたし。
But there was a scream earlier. You can't sell this kind of suspense story without a scream or two.
言われてみればそうですね。
Now you mention it, that's true. Sakumi's tension faded when she saw the smile on Soichi's face. Man, this place is big. I wonder why that is. Soichi said that as they were walking down the hall. Thanks to the size of the room, the two of them were having trouble reaching the source of the voice that had been seeking for help. Fortunately, there were barely any intersections or turns on the way there, but they've been traveling quite a long distance already. They'd already traveled over 100 meters from the first room they'd gotten to.
ショッピングモールくらい
This might be as big as a shopping mall. Perhaps. Soichi figured this place had to be at least as big as a shopping mall. Hold on a second. Alright, I'm back. And considering how labyrinthine the hallways were and how many rooms they held, Sakumi's guess sounded more or less on the mark. Just then, another sound, the same sound happened. Must be getting close. Looks like we're on the right path. This was the second time they heard the sound since going out in the hallway, but it was much louder than the first time. They probably were getting really close. But just what is this weird sound? Sakumi frowned in confusion. This was the third time they'd heard it. Once in the room and twice in the hallways. It was a dull sound, like a sandbag being thrown to the ground, and it shook the walls slightly. It's not the kind of sound you hear all that often. Help me! Is someone there? The voice sought help again. It was surprisingly closer than they thought. Perhaps the person speaking was moving. Soichi and Sakumi were almost there. They probably just had to turn another corner or two. Mitsurugi! Let's go! They nodded at each other and started running. There he is. It must be that guy. Soichi found a middle-aged man in the hallway. Judging from the voice he heard, it had to be this man. No doubt about it. Oh, 1 second. Sorry. There we go. The hallway that Soichi and Sakumi were running down was connected to another straight hallway down. It turned to a T-junction, and Soichi and Sakumi were right at the tip of the T. The middle-aged man passed right by them. But he didn't notice them and just kept running. What's wrong with him? Sakumi frowned with concern. She only caught a glimpse of him, so she hadn't been sure, but she could have sworn he'd been dragging his right leg. Let's go after him. He might know something. Yes. Soichi picked up the pace. Sakumi quickly followed suit. Hey, you there! Wait! What's going on? Soichi ran down the T-junction as he shouted. When he saw Soichi, the middle-aged man's face slightly brightened on the otherwise fearful look in his face. Just then, Soichi noticed that there was a red light flashing over and over again around his neck. A collar? What was flashing was the collar attached to the man's neck. Soichi instinctively reached out for his own collar. What's going on? Soichi and Sakumi's collars hadn't flashed once so far. When he saw the red lights, Soichi felt fear stirring up inside him. There really was someone else here. The man ignored Soichi's question and ran straight towards him and Sakumi. Just as they'd seen earlier, he was dragging his right leg. He must have been injured. It looked like it was hard for him to walk.
Mitsurugi-san!
Sakumi came up to him a few seconds later. Help me! But the man paid Sakumi's arrival no heed. He ignored her and looked to Soichi for help. What happened here? Something was weird about the man. First was the fact he was dragging his right leg. It was just as they'd seen. Plus, his face was clammy with sweat. It must have been because he'd been running. What was even stranger was that there were burns here and there over his clothes. The burns were worse right around his right leg. Perhaps that had been the cause of his injury. Those things are chasing me. What things? Soichi and Sakumi had no clue what he was talking about. The two of them looked at each other instinctively. Please explain yourself, sir. I don't know what you're... They're here. They came for me. Huh? The man pointed behind Soichi and started backing away. The fear on his face and the flashing of his collar filled Soichi with worry. What's he talking about? What's coming? Soichi turned around. A ball? Soichi was dumbfounded by the sight before him. A black ball the size of a soccer ball was rolling in front of him. No, not one. There were about 20 of them. They were rolling straight towards them. Their speed was about the same as a normal person's walking pace. The only difference was that the balls were rolling. They weren't psychotic killers or anything, nor were they any sort of violent animals. Soichi didn't see anything dangerous about them. The number of the balls was strange, but he couldn't understand what had the man so spooked. So what is the problem here? But the man didn't answer Soichi and screamed as he turned around and ran. Since his leg was injured, he couldn't run that fast. Though he was running faster, certainly he was only running a little faster than one could walk. Wait up, sir. This is it. I'm going to be killed. Soichi called for him to stop, but the man just kept walking.
Mitsurugi-san.
Sakumi was just as confused as Soichi. Sakumi looked to Soichi for confirmation on what they should do. Soichi tried to answer her, but just then, their PDAs, something rang from their pockets. At the same time. What is it this time? Soichi reached into his pocket and took out his PDA. The PDA's backlight switched on, and some sort of picture followed by words were shown.
ボールが
Mitsurugi, the balls. The balls were coming just by the two of them, just as Sakumi looked up from her PDA and said that. What's up with these balls? Strangely enough, the balls just ignored Soichi and Sakumi and rolled right past them. Soichi just watched as they kept on going. They were slow, but it felt like as if... But the way they avoided Soichi and Sakumi made it seem like they had a will of their own. Wait, was that guy running from these balls? But nothing happened, right? Soichi couldn't understand any of it. He found it strange, but the balls had just passed right by them without causing them any harm. Only that man seemed to think they were dangerous at all. If he had found those balls dangerous, then they should have been just as dangerous as Soichi and Sakumi. Or they just not notice us, and someone or something else is there aside from the balls. Soichi looked behind them, but he saw nothing there. Even if there had been someone there, they were already gone.
みつるぎさん大変です。これを見てください。
Oh no, Mitsurugi. Look at this, please. Sakumi took Soichi's hand and showed him her PDA.
あのボール、さっきの男の人をずっと追いかけているんです。
Those balls have been chasing that man for a while now. What? Soichi looked at the screen of Sakumi's PDA. There was a picture of the balls on it, along with an explanation of them. Pursuit balls? And then the following explanation was written. Pursuit balls self-destruct upon contact. Automatic landmines designed to kill those who break the rules and those who have failed to fulfill the release conditions. Movement is 6 kilometers per hour. Their explosions aren't all that powerful, so maybe you'll get away without dying, even if a number of them hit you. Will you be able to get away from them in the end?
みつるぎさん、もしかしたら
Mitsurugi, what if... No way, do you really think... Soichi remembered the man. The sweat and the burns over his body. The wound on his leg. The fear he'd shown. And the explosions they've been hearing for a while now. Not only have they been chasing for a long time, but several of the balls had hit him and blown up, injuring his leg. That theory was quite plausible. And does that mean that man broke the rules or failed to fulfill his release condition? I see, the collar. His collar was flashing red, wasn't it? So that's what it was for. Sakumi, let's go after him. Yes. Sakumi nodded, perhaps understanding what Soichi was getting at. But their decision came too late. Several explosions came in concert with the man's scream. It wasn't just one sound like there'd been up till now. They were thunderous and one after another. If what the PDA said was true, then it was the sound of the balls hitting the man and exploding. Soichi and Sakumi rounded the corner the man disappeared behind and ran down the hallway. Mitsurugi, the balls are back. Once they reached the junction, Sakumi noticed it. They're coming back? 4 balls were heading towards Soichi and Sakumi from the way the man had disappeared to. For some reason, they were fast. For some reason, they were fast, and yet there were less than half of them from what we're seeing earlier. The number of balls has gone down, hasn't it? Sakumi was so nervous she could barely say it. Yeah. Soichi nodded, unable to hide his own tension. Soichi stopped right in front of the balls. At first, when they first seen him, there had been about 20, but now there are only 4. Where had the other 16 disappeared? Soichi couldn't stop sweating. Up till now, he'd taken comfort in believing this had been some sort of joke or event. But this sudden turn of events had completely blown that out of the water. What should we do? Perhaps Sakumi was in a similar boat to Soichi, as she instinctively took his hand and gripped it. I don't know. Soichi had no idea what they should be doing. Had it really exploded, or had that all been fake? Soichi didn't know. Soichi just gripped Sakumi's hand back. Anyway, Sakumi, let's keep going. If those things really blew up, then something really bad could have happened. I understand. Soichi and Sakumi carefully head back as they watch the balls. Soichi then remembered how the man had backed away from the balls in the same way when they seen him. Was this how that man had felt? That's the thought that came to Soichi's mind as he backed off. But it couldn't have been anything compared to the man who had known those balls were coming straight for him. Soichi and Sakumi returned to the intersection and watched the balls. If the balls were coming for them next, they had to run. Gone? But fortunately, the balls completely ignored the two of them and returned down the hallway from which they came initially. They show no signs of entering the hallway where Soichi and Sakumi were at. Mitsurugi, did those things really blow up? I don't know, but we should check it out. Soichi carefully peeked down the hallway the balls had just left. Balls just kept rolling down until they eventually disappeared out of sight. Phew. Soichi let out a sigh. After being released from his pent-up tension, his body went limp. Huh? Just then, Soichi noticed that Sakumi's hand was shaking in his own. Soichi held her hand tightly back and smiled. It's okay now, Sakumi. They're gone. Oh, right. But Sakumi didn't stop shaking at all. Soichi and Sakumi started moving once they were sure the balls weren't coming back. They couldn't stop thinking about what happened to the man they just met. Unpleasant images came to their mind. The fact that the balls that had been chasing the man had come back also added to their anxiety. Maybe that man is already... Their suspicions were soon confirmed. Sakumi gasped when she saw it. Hold on a second. Alright, I'm back. That scream quickly ceased in the form of a coughing fit, and though she wanted to look away from that tragic sight, Sakumi couldn't take her eyes off it. The middle-aged man was lying up, face up on the floor, dead. But the state of her body, it was the state of his body that was truly horrifying. The first thing that caught her eye was his lower half, burned a crispy black. To call them burns was far too light a term. Burns didn't go so far as to peel off the skin and carbonize wounds. His pants had been reduced to cinders, rendering them completely unrecognizable. The man's upper half had gotten off lighter, but his clothes were burnt tatters at this point. Rivers of blood streamed down the wounds carved into his skin, dripping to the floor and engulfing his charred body into a crimson pond. In contrast to all of that, the man's face was oddly intact, leaving its expression for the world to see. Overwhelming fear and agony, as well as anger for his unfair fate, were carved right into it. It was a picture-perfect model of the phrase "death throes." Mounds of metal and plastic pieces were scattered all over the place. They were likely the remnants of the balls. Sakumi's eyes welled with tears as she reeled in shock, her knees shaking. Soichi understood well how she felt. She She could imagine how the man had died. First, the balls had hit his legs. He'd fallen over after his legs got wounded, and then the balls attacked again. Since the explosions themselves weren't all that powerful, the man had been conscious the whole time, watching as the balls swarmed towards his body. Explosion after explosion had occurred, whittling down his very life. He tried to run, but he couldn't move his legs. When he tried to crawl away, his arms were burned, so there was nothing he could do. All he could do was wait for his own oncoming death. Those things are chasing me. Soichi finally understood how that man had felt when they'd met. He'd been hit by one of the balls and had run for his life. Then he'd come across Soichi and Sakumi and beg for help. But he despaired when he realized they didn't understand what was going on. And even though he realized he had to run away from the balls that were chasing after him, he couldn't escape them. The balls had eventually caught up to him and blown up one after another, with him still conscious the whole time. Pure despair, powerlessness, fear, confusion, agony, and questioning the unfairness of it all. He died while feeling that whole whirlpool of negative emotion. This is too cruel. Sakumi cried and put her hands to her mouth as she fell to her knees. But she couldn't take her eyes off the man's body. Her trembling hands covered her mouth, and it seemed like she just barely managed to keep herself from fainting. Soichi also fell to his knees. He could barely move his own body. He knew there was no way he could have understood back then, but he couldn't help but wishing he'd listened to the man back then. Not when he was going to die a death so cruel. What's more, they could clearly see how he died. Mitsurugi, we... She looked up. Her face was strewn with tears. Her face was pale, and their teeth chattered as they clanged into each other. Her teary eyes shook with fear. Sakumi. If we don't get these collars off, we'll die just like that. Oops. Everything written in the PDA was true. And we have the OP. I think I'm going to leave off here after this plays. The OP has spoilers, so look away if you don't want to be spoiled. Okay, and with that, I am going to leave off here. Thank you for sticking around, everyone. I apologize for all the technical issues that plagued the first hour and a half of the stream. I plan to resume streaming at noon tomorrow, where hopefully I'll cover more content. It went a little slower than I was expecting, but translation takes time. And again, I'd like to apologize for the crudeness of the translations. A lot of them most of them are thought up right on the spot, so sometimes I might miss a few things or might accidentally mistranslate something when I'm going too fast, but hopefully I'm still hoping I'm getting everything across quite clearly. And I know that me going slower probably kills a lot of the tension and other stuff, but and I mean the pacing is bad because of that now. But hopefully I'll be able to get a faster rate in the future, and I'll leave it off at that. So thank you again, and I'll be back tomorrow. Oh, and for those of you who were um, coming here because of the stream game, last time I mean, because of all the technical issues this time and how long it took me to get to the opening, I didn't cover the betting system, but we will be covering that next time. So those of you who are here for the streaming game, tune in next time and I'll explain that properly and we'll go over it. All right, that's all. Thank you, and good night to everyone.